mentioned that your priority is creating jobs. I mean,
Right.
I've only been editorial page editor for a couple of years, but I imagine if we'd gone back through time that most of the candidates who have come through here have talked about creating jobs.
Yep.
Wouldn't Congressman Konjorsky have done that in 26 years if he were able to? How is your vision, your plan different than what we've heard?
Well, I don't think I don't think you've ever heard Project Main Street before, and he certainly hasn't done it and hasn't given a vision as to what that is. I have a few just to show you here. Let me show you. This is just as an example. This is the Dunmore Corners in Lackawanna County. This is what it currently looks like now. What it would look like at the end of the project would be this. Now, let me tell you why this is important from a job creation standpoint. What I would pitch in Washington is Project Main Street as a national model program and get members to support that and people in the administration to support it through stimulus dollars and job creation dollars as a plan to revitalize our regions and our main streets. Here's what I would suggest to you. That first of all, if you look at this, one, we've eliminated all the power lines. We've eliminated all of the cable lines. We've rebuilt the facades. We've widened the sidewalks. We've taken traffic off of Main Street, put it onto side streets. We've done period lighting in trees. Do a nice period clock here. Do high-tech infrastructure, not only transportation infrastructure, but wireless infrastructure. Now, what does this do? This is about a $5 million project right here. This is $5 million, okay? This street, this is Drinker Street, or the main street in Dunmore. This is $5 million. Now, what's important about this, and how does this help from a job creation standpoint? I'm a big fan of roads and bridges. I drive on them all the time, okay? And that's where a lot of our stimulus money is going. I'm a fan. But if we put money on main streets, what does it do? Number one, it creates short-term construction jobs, which we desperately need. Number two, it rebuilds aging transportation infrastructure, which that's aging transportation infrastructure, and rebuilds it, and also creates IT, high-tech wireless infrastructure that doesn't exist, and that businesses and people can utilize on their main street. It also rewards the small businesses that have been with us through thick and thin. In our region, you know what we do? With respect to business development, we cross our fingers. That's what we do. We cross our fingers and hope for that big one to come into a KOZ, which in 10 years they're going to roll out of here after the taxes expire if we don't renew the KOZs. That's what we do. We cross our fingers that high-paying jobs come in. We do not reward existing small businesses. This rewards and tells those businesses that have been with us through thick and thin, through the greatest times in our economy and the worst times in our economy. They've been with us. That we care about them and that we want their businesses to do well. Okay? So it rewards these small businesses. It also restores, one of the things that I think is missing in not only our region but in the country right now is pride. We're down. We're not out, but we're down right now. This is the worst economic crisis we've faced since the Great Depression. Some say that it's as bad, and it may get worse. But we're down. We're not out, but we're down. And we need to restore some of that pride in ourselves and in our regions. And this restores that pride. The final piece of this is this creates jobs long term. Let me tell you why. This woman here goes and sits down. This woman right here has her cup of coffee in the morning now on that Main Street. They come back to Main Street. That's where we used to spend our time. We used to spend our time on Main Street, but we've forgotten Main Street. Main Street now looks like this. We've forgotten Main Street. If we start rediscovering our main streets, we're sitting out there now with a cup of coffee or reading a newspaper. Our children can actually walk on the street, or you can have a stroller on the street and not be worried about cars flying by you at 65 miles an hour in a 20-mile-an-hour zone. If we start rediscovering our main streets and we're there drinking that cup of coffee and having that newspaper, you know what we're going to do? We're going to say to one of these businesses here that the tailor shop that's on the main street that we've seen over the last 7 years, we've gone in there once. Tough to find parking, it's not real conducive. That clothing company that's there, you know what happens? After you read that newspaper and you're going to your car, you walk by it one day and you're like, boy, you know what? Look at those shoes in there. And you walk in and you rediscover these small businesses that we've left behind years ago. Maybe you buy a pair of socks. Maybe you buy a pair of shoes. Maybe you buy a t-shirt. Then maybe next time, maybe you buy something else. slowly but surely over time, we start rebuilding these businesses, and they provide the opportunity to hire people.
How does the National Trust for Historic Preservation fit into this?
National Trust for Historic Preservation is just simply a study group. And they don't do this. They don't fund projects at all.
So you're proposing something?
Yeah, do you know what the do you know what it is? It's literally a website with information as to how if you want to rebuild your Main Street, here's kind of the idea of what you should do. You should put a community group together. You should go raise money. You should then go, that's what it is. I mean, just so we're all square on that. All it is a resource as to, if you want to do something like this, here's how we think you should do it. Put a local group together, 1. 2, go out and raise money from the local community.
So how do you keep this revenue neutral? The stimulus supposedly is not going to be there for more than another year, we wouldn't think.
Right.
So where are you going to fund things like this to keep it revenue?
You would fund this through stimulus dollars and job creation dollars. That's how you'd fund this as a national model program, through stimulus, through job creation. That's how you'd fund it. What you would do as a match, if there was a local match requirement, which I'm not a big fan of right now because I don't think from a match standpoint anybody can match anything. States, counties, municipal governments, I don't think that they can match. Knowing budgets, I don't think that that's realistic right now. But what I would suggest to you as a match would be entering into a long-term maintenance agreement with the local municipality. So here, we're going to do it, and then you have to maintain it. And your match is the long-term maintenance, the light bulbs, making sure that the streets remain in good shape, make any updates that need to be made.
Are opponents going to argue that a lot of this is happening at some level in Wilkes-Barre and Scranton with existing programs?
No, and I don't think they can argue that. My opponent can argue that he's gotten lights, money for lights. That's great. Lights. That's great. It's one component. I'm happy about that. That's not this. Nobody can argue this is going on in our country. Can't be argued. I mean, you can find a few areas where there's been private development where they have rehabbed a Main Street, and that's been positive. But the money is drying up, 1. Number 2, one of the things I haven't said here, but the most important part of this project, this is the only municipalities, the only streets that'd be eligible for this, where there's a significant existing small business base. That's the key here, and that's the difference. This project, you wouldn't even be eligible for funding if there were no businesses on the block. Or if there was one. Wouldn't even be eligible for this program. Why? Because that's not what the program is about. It's not about taking a block that's been dilapidated, making it brand new, and then having it sit there empty. It's not about that at all. It's about rewarding small businesses. So the only way, and the only place, this would be very targeted. You look around our area, there's not a lot of places where this can work around our area. Not a lot of places. Because you wouldn't meet that one eligibility requirement, which I think is a critical one. This is not about taking a dilapidated block where there's nothing, building it all new, and then, hey, we're going to drive by it. It looks great, but there's nobody in it. That's not economic development. That's not. That's crossing our fingers and hoping that we market it well and we're priced right where businesses will come into it. That's a lot of work. I'm talking about let's do a little bit less work. Let's find the areas. This is a great example because these are all existing small businesses here. They're all existing small businesses. Every one of them there. There might be 2 open storefronts there. So this is the type of street that would be eligible.